I've loved you since we were kids. Elle, please don't leave me, Naomi Carter's voice broke her lips, pressing against Elliot Hayes in a trembling, desperate kiss. Tears soaked her cheeks, catching the soft glow of the hospital room. She couldn't believe it. Her childhood best friend, her secret first love, lay coma's billionaire now. Yet still the boy who'd shared her Atlanta dreams. Her heart ached, willing him to wake to be whole again, unaware that her fervent words had stirred something deep within his silent mind. Could her love pull him back from the edge, or would hidden enemies shatter their chance at forever dive into this soul-stirring saga of love and danger? Subscribe to follow every heartbeat and drop a comment telling us where you're listening from and what time it is. What's your guess for their fate? Will Naomi's kiss save Elliot, or will betrayal strike first? Stay with us to uncover the truth. Naomi Carter's sneakers squeaked against the polished floor of Hopewell Private Hospital, her pulse hammering louder than the hum of monitors, 12 hours on shift, and her bones HD. But Dr. Larson's summons to Room 504 pulled her like a magnet. "You're good with the tough ones, Carter," he'd said. His voice clipped. Over the phone, this one's different. She adjusted her scrubs, the locket beneath them pressing cool against her chest, and pushed open the heavy door. The air inside was thick with wealth soft. Jazz drifted from hidden speakers. Polished oak gleamed under muted lights. In the scent of cedar, mingled with antiseptic. Then she saw him, and her breath caught like a snag thread. Elliot Hayes lay still, his face pale against the crisp, white sheets, tubes snaking from his arms. The boy who'd once chased her through Atlanta's backyards. His laughter brighter than summer was now a man silenced by a coma. A billionaire. The Belia world said. But to her, he was Elle. Her secret love, her childhood anchor, Naomi's. Fingers trembled as she reached for his chart. Car accident, coma 10 months her. Eyes traced the scar on his temple, a ghost of their treehouse tumble when they were 10, when he'd held her hand and promised they'd always be friends. She sank into the chair beside him. The room's opulence, fading memories flooded. In 1997, their fort of blankets and dreams, comic books scattered on her mama's lawn. She'd loved him even then, her heart stuttering when he'd grinned and slipped that locket into her hand. "For my best friend," he'd said, his blue eyes shy. She'd hidden her crush, terrified their worlds. Her duplex, his mansion wouldn't bend. Now here he was, unreachable, and her heart broke all over again. "Elliot," she whispered, voice raw. "It's me." "Nay." The monitors beeped indifferent. She leaned closer, her fingers brushing his wrist. "Warm but lifeless. You've gotta wake up, Elle. You owe me a check rematch." A weak laugh escaped her, but tears pricked her eyes. She glanced at the chart. Again her nurse's instinct kicking in suspicious circumstances. It read the words like a cold finger down her spine. She frowned, flipping pages, but found only medical jargon. No answers. The door creaked, and Nurse Tanya poked her head in her braid. "Swinging, Carter. You're wasting your time. The rich guy's not waking up. Come, grab coffee." Naomi shook her head, her gaze fixed on Elliot's face. Those sharp cheekbones, softer in sleep. "I'm good." "Tanya, he's someone I know." Tanya raised a brow, skeptical. "Your funeral don't fall for the coma, Prince." The door clicked shut, leaving Naomi alone with the weight of her secret. She stood smoothing Elliot's blanket, her hands moving with the care of a nurse and the tenderness of a girl still in love. The locket shifted under her scrubs, a reminder of promises. Unbroken, she'd worn it every day, a piece of him close, even when his world of wealth had pulled him away. Now fate had dragged him back and she wouldn't let go. "I've loved you forever, Elle," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Don't you dare. Give up on me. A memory hit her running through sprinklers. His hand and hers, their laughter, echoing. She'd been 12, him 13, when she'd first felt it. That ache in her chest when he'd looked at her too long. She'd buried it. Scared he'd never see her that way. Scared their differences, her blackness, his privilege, would build a wall too high. But now in this sterile palace of a room, those fears felt small. He was here and she'd fight for him. She checked his IV, her hands steady. Despite the storm in her chest, the charts node nagged at her. Suspicious circumstances. What did it mean? A car crash didn't just happen to someone like Elliot, not with his private drivers in armored SUVs. She pushed the thought down, focusing on his breathing. Slow. And even you're still in there, aren't you? She said, brushing a lock of hair from his brow. His face, once commanding, was hauntingly still, but she swore she saw a flicker, a shadow of the boy who'd promised her the stars. The hospital's hum faded as she sat again, her hand resting near his. She didn't notice the guard outside his eyes lingering too long, or the faint buzz of a phone in the hall. All she saw was Elliot, her L, and all she felt was the love. She'd never dared speak. I'm here, she said, voice firm. Now, and I'm not going anywhere. The locket pulsed against her heart, and somewhere deep in the silence of his mind, her words began to echo. Naomi's fingers lingered near Elliot's wrist, the steady pulse beneath his skin, a fragile tether to hope. The locket under her scrubs felt heavier, its weight a silent vow to keep him close. Room 504 soft jazz hummed on, but her mind wandered back to those Atlanta summers when love was a secret she'd locked away. She straightened, shaking off the ache, and began her routine checking. His chart, adjusting the IV, her hands moving with practiced grace. You'd laugh at me, L, she said, a faint smile tugging her lips. Still talking to you like you're going to sass me back. Days blew into one another, each shift a dance of duty and devotion. She bathed him gently, her cloth tracing the lines of a body that had once raced her to the corner store. She spoke of old times sneaking into matinees. His terrible moonwalk at her quinceañera. You thought you were MJ, she chuckled, smoothing his sheet. I let you believe it. Her voice filled the sterile, quiet A lifeline she hoped he'd grasp, but the monitor stayed steady. No flicker of reply. A memory surfaced. 200316 6 years old, sprawled on a park bench. Elliot had scribbled a poem for her, his cheeks pink as he'd mumbled, "You're my best friend." Maybe more. Her heart had soared, but fear of his wealth, of their worlds, had choked her silence. She tucked the poem in her locket, a secret beside his photo, and smiled like it was nothing. Now her fingers brushed the locket, the paper's edges worn from years of quiet longing. You were always braver than I, she whispered. Nurse Tanya's voice broke her reverie sharp at the door. Carter, you're obsessed. He's not your boyfriend. Naomi didn't look up, wiping Elliot's brow. He's my friend Tanya. Someone's gotta care. Tanya snorted, leaning against the frame. Rich folks don't need your pity. His family hasn't even shown up. Tells you something. Naomi's jaw tightened, but she kept her eyes on Elliot. No visitors, no flowers, just her. In that absence, nodded at her. Where were his people? She'd noticed the details. His designer watch, untouched, on the nightstand. Private guards rotating outside their eyes, cold. Yet, no one came to claim the man. The world called a titan. Her gaze flicked to the chart again. That phrase, suspicious. Circumstances like a splinter in her mind. She pushed it aside, focusing on Elliot's face, softer in the morning. A light. You're not alone. L, she said, voice low. Not while I'm here later. In the break room, a television blared Hayes. Innovations faces hostile takeover. Bid the anchor droned. Naomi froze coffee cup halfway to her lips. Elliot's company, his empire, under attack. While he lay helpless, she glanced at Tanya, who shrugged. Money makes enemies. Bet someone's happy. He's tout. Cold Naomi's stomach twisted the words too close to her own fears. She returned to room 504. Her steps quicker, a new urgency in her chest. Dr. Larson stopped her in the hall. His gray eyes stern. Carter, you're too invested. Comas. Like his don't expect miracles. She nodded, but her heart rebelled. He's strong, Doc. I know him, Larson sighed, adjusting his glasses. You're a nurse, not a savior. Keep your head clear. His words stung, but she brushed them off, slipping back to Elliot's side. The room felt warmer, like he was listening. She adjusted his pillow, her fingers grazing his hand, a twitch, faint but real, stopped. Her pulse raced as she squeezed his fingers, waiting. Nothing, come on, Elle, she whispered, her voice trembling. You felt that, didn't you? She stared at his hand, willing it to move again, but it stayed still. Her eyes darted to the monitor, its lines unchanged. Doubt crept in. But she clung to the moment, her locket, a steady weight against her heart. She sat her chair creaking and pulled out their old high school book of poems. From her bag, Langston Hughes, your favorite, she said, flipping to dreams. Her voice softened. Reading. Hold fast to dreams for, if dreams die, she paused, her throat tight. You're my dream, Elle. Always were the words felt like a confession, raw and reckless. But she didn't care. She'd loved him too long to stop. Now the door swung open, and Tanya's voice cut through. Girl, you're hopeless. Larson's going to write you up for this, Naomi. Closed the book unfazed. Let him. I'm not leaving. Tanya shook her head, muttering, crazy. As she left, Naomi leaned closer to Elliot, her hand resting near his. They don't get it, she said. But you, don't you? Outside, a guard's radio crackled too low to hear, but Naomi didn't notice her world. Was this room, this man, and the love she'd never dared speak until now. Naomi's voice lingered in the quiet of room 504, the echo of Langston Hughes, words fading into the hum of machines. Her hand hovered near Elliot's, the memory of that faint twitch. A spark. She couldn't shake the locket pressed against her chest. A silent witness to her whispered dreams, she leaned back, exhaustion tugging at her. But her heart refused to rest. You're fighting Elle, she murmured, eyes tracing his still face. I feel it. The jazz from the speakers felt softer now, almost mournful, as if it knew the weight of her. Hope night had settled over the hospital. The hall's dim and hushed. Naomi's shift should have ended, but she stayed, her bags slouched by the chair, her poetry book open on her lap. She spoke to him, raw and unguarded, as if her words could pull him from the abyss. Works been rough, she said, voice low. People look at me like I don't belong, like I'm just the help. But you never did, Elle. You saw me. Her fingers tightened around the big locket, the metal warm from her skin. I want to open a clinic, for folks like my mama who can't afford places like this. You'd get it. A memory clawed to its way up. 2007. Their last summer before college, they'd sat on her mama's porch, fireflies blinking in the dusk. Elliot had fidgeted, his voice halting. Nay, you're my. He'd stopped hugging her. Instead, his arms tight with unspoken words. She'd bitten back her own. I love you. Convinced his world, MIT wealth, would outgrow her. Now her throat burned. I should have told you, she whispered. I've loved you forever. She stood checking his IV with trembling hands. The charts, note, suspicious circumstances noted at her, but she pushed it down, focusing on the task as she adjusted the drip his hand, moved fingers curling weakly around hers. Naomi froze her pulse, a drum in her ears. The monitor spiked a jagged line of life. As she breathed, squeezing back, the grip held faint, but real, and her heart leapt. She hit the call button, her voice shaking as she paged Dr. Larson. He moved. It's real. Larson arrived, his face skeptical under the fluorescent light. He tested Elliot's reflexes. Frowning could be a reflex. Carter comas play tricks. Naomi shook her head adamant. It wasn't. He grabbed me. Larson sighed. Ordering a brain scan. Don't get your hopes up. I've seen this before. He left his clipboard tucked under his arm. But Naomi barely heard him. She sank beside Elliot, her eyes locked on his hand. Now, still again. You're in there, she said, voice fierce. I know you are. The room felt smaller, the air charged with possibility. She leaned closer, her breath hitching. L. If you can hear me, her words faltered, emotion choking her. She'd spent years hiding her love, bearing it under duty, under fear. But now, with him teetering on the edge, she couldn't hold back her lips, found his a desperate, trembling kiss, tasting of salt and longing. I've loved you forever, she whispered against his mouth. Tears spilling down. Her cheeks come back to me. The door creaked, and Naomi jerked back her face, flushed, as Nurse Tanya stepped in. Oblivious Carter, you're still here. Go. Home, girl. Naomi wiped her eyes, forcing a nod. In a minute, Tanya sighed, muttering about hopeless romantics as she left. Naomi's heart pounded the kiss, a reckless confession she couldn't take back. She touched her lips, the warmth of his lingering, and a shaky laugh escaped. You better wake up, L, or I'm going to be real embarrassed. She grabbed the chart, needing to ground herself. Flipping through, she froze. A crumpled note slipped out, tucked between pages. Checked the breaks. It read in hurried scrawl. Her stomach dropped. This wasn't just a crash. Someone had wanted Elliot gone. Her eyes darted to him, his face unchanged, but the room felt colder now. The jazz a hollow hum. She stuffed the note in her pocket, her mind racing. Who'd written it, and why hide it? She sat again, her chair scraping softly. What happened to you, L? She whispered, her voice barely audible. She wanted to believe it was an accident, but the note, the chart's warning, it all pointed to something darker. Her fingers brushed. He's seeking the boy who'd once promised her the stars. I'm not letting you go, she said, her resolve hardening. Not to this, not to anyone. Outside, the night pressed against the window, a shadow flickering beyond the glass. Gone before she could blink, the guard's radio crackled in the hall. A low murmur she didn't catch. Naomi's world was Elliot, his faint pulse, her stolen kiss, and the secret now burning in her pocket. She didn't know it yet, but her words, her love had already begun to pull him back. A whisper in the dark. He was starting to hear the echo of Naomi's kiss, lingered on her lips. A reckless vow sealed in the quiet of room 504. Her fingers clutched the crumpled note, checked the breaks. Its weight heavier than the locket against her chest. She tucked it back into Elliot's chart, her mind a tangle of fear and resolve, when a faint rasp broke the silence. Nay, her heart stopped. Elliot's eyes fluttered, open, blue, and hazy, locking onto hers like she was the only thing real. You're here, he croaked, his voice a ghost of the boy she'd loved. Naomi froze, her breath caught as the world tilted beneath her. Chaos erupted. She slammed the emergency button, and the room flooded with noise monitors, shrieking footsteps, pounding. Dr. Larson burst in, stethoscope swinging, followed by nurses, their voices overlapping. Pupils are responsive. Larson barked, leaning over Elliot. Hayes, can you hear me? Naomi stepped back, her pulse racing as the team swarmed. But Elliot's gaze clung to her, a lifeline in the storm. Nay, he rasped. Again, her childhood nickname, a knife to her heart. She dreamed of this moment, but nothing prepared her for the raw confusion in his eyes, or the way her own love surged reckless and unguarded. Her lips still burned from the kiss, and his neigh felt like he'd heard. Felt her through the fog of his coma. The door swung wide, and a woman strode in. Vanessa Clean Elliot's CFO, her tailored suit sharp as her glare. "What's happening?" she demanded, eyes flicking to Naomi with cold suspicion. "He's awake," Naomi said, her voice steadier than she felt. Vanessa's lips thinned. "About time," reporter shouts, seeped through the window. A media frenzy brewing outside. Billionaire wakes the headlines would scream. But Naomi barely noticed. She edged closer to Elliot, her hand brushing his as Larson fired questions. "Do you know your name?" "The year?" Elliot blinked, disoriented, his fingers twitching toward hers. "Elliot Hayes," he mumbled. "And Nay's here." Naomi's cheeks flushed. Vanessa's stare boring into her like a blade. A memory flashed. 2011, their prom night. Elliot in a rented tux, watching her sway in a thrift store dress. "Nay, I've always," he'd started, his voice soft, but he'd stopped. Fear winning. She'd smiled, hiding her own longing, thinking his world was too big for her. Now his nay carried that same tenderness, and her heart ached with what they'd never said. "I'm here, Elle," she whispered, ignoring Vanessa's scowl. Larson adjusted the monitors, his face grim, brain activity strong, but he's fragile, no stress. Glanced at Naomi Carter. "You're off this case too." Personal. Naomi's stomach dropped. "No, Doc, he needs me." Elliot's hand grabbed hers, weak. "But sure, don't go," he said, voice rough. Larson sighed, relenting. "Fine, but keep it professional." Vanessa snorted, muttering professional like a curse. The room cleared, leaving Naomi, Elliot, and a hovering Vanessa. Naomi's eyes caught Elliot's, and she saw it. Fragments of her voice, her poetry, her kiss swirling in his mind. "I heard you," he said, so quietly she almost missed it all this time. Her breath hitched the locket burning against her skin. She'd poured her love into him, and he'd clung to it, a beacon in the dark. "What do you remember?" she asked, voice trembling. He frowned, rubbing his temple. Flashes, headlights. A screech. Then you, his words. Stirred the note in her pocket. Its warning checked the brakes. Screaming sabotage, she glanced at Vanessa, who was texting furiously. Her face unreadable. "Enemies," Vanessa said, catching Naomi's. "Look, Elliot had plenty people. Wanted him gone." Her tone was too smooth, and Naomi's gut twisted. Was Vanessa one of them? She squeezed Elliot's hand, grounding him. "You're safe now, Elle." But her mind raced the note. The charts, suspicious circumstances. Vanessa's cold eyes. It all pointed to a truth. She wasn't ready to face someone had tried to kill him. And they might try again. Elliot's grip tightened like he sensed her fear. "Don't leave," he said again. And she nodded her resolve. "Stealing. Never." Vanessa stepped closer, her heels clicking. "He needs rest, nurse, not your devotion." Naomi stood her ground, her voice firm. "He needs someone who cares. That's me." Vanessa's smile was razor thin. "We'll see," she swept out, leaving a chill in her wake. Naomi turned back to Elliot, his eyes heavy but fixed on her. "You're my anchor," he murmured. And her heart cracked open. The hospital hummed beyond the door. But in that moment it was just them, Nay and Elle, the girl who'd loved them in silence, and the boy who'd heard her through the void. She didn't see the guard slip Vanessa A. phone in the hall, or the shadow lingering outside. All she knew was Elliot alive, awake, and the danger closing in, unseen but sharp as a blade. Elliot's words, "You're my anchor," hung in the air, a fragile bridge between their past and the storm brewing around them. Naomi's hand stayed in her pulse, steadying, despite the weight of Vanessa's parting. Jabbed the locket under her scrubs, pulsed like a second heartbeat, tethering her to the boy who'd woken with her name on his lips. Room 504's monitors beeped softly, but the quiet felt deceptive. The note in her pocket. Check the brakes, a silent scream. She met Elliot's gaze, his eyes clearer, now searching hers for answers she wasn't sure she could give the rehab. Wing buzzed with morning light, its polished floors reflecting the clatter of therapy equipment. Naomi guided Elliot to the parallel bars, his steps faltering, muscles stiff from months of stillness. 1 foot at a time, Elle, she said, her voice warm but firm, like when they'd raced as kids. He gripped the bars, sweat beading on his brow, and shot her a weak grin. Still trying to beat me? Nay. Her laugh was soft, but her heart ached. He was. Fighting for her therapy was grueling each step, a battle against his body's betrayal. Naomi stayed close, her hands ready to catch him, her encouragement a steady drum. You've got this, she said, adjusting his arm. His gaze lingered on her, softer than the billionaire. The world knew. A memory flickered. 2019. His penthouse, city lights sprawling below. He'd stood alone, drafting a letter to her. I've loved you since we were kids. He'd torn it up, scared she'd reject his gilded world. But her locket's photo had stayed on his desk, a quiet confession. Now, her presence was his strength later. In his room, Naomi pulled the chart, her fingers brushing the hidden note. She kept it from him, unsure how much he could handle. But the truth clawed at her. Sitting beside him, there's something you need to see. She handed him the mechanic's report, buried in the file breaks, deliberately cut his face, hardened the scar on his temple, stark against his paling skin. This wasn't an accident, he said, voice low. I remember a meeting. Vanessa was furious, said I was. Holding the company back, Naomi's stomach twisted. Vanessa's cold eyes, her cryptic enemies. Remark, it fit too well. What else do you remember? She asked her. Hand on his, he rubbed his temples, eyes distant, shouting, her voice sharp. Then, driving headlights too bright. His voice cracked, and Naomi squeezed his hand, grounding him. We'll figure it out, she said. Her resolve fierce, but fear gnawed at her. Someone had wanted him dead, and Vanessa's shadow loomed large during a therapy break. Elliot stumbled his legs. Buckling, Naomi caught him, their faces inches apart, her arms steady around him. You always saved me. Nay, he said, his breath warm against her cheek. Her heart raced, the locket burning against her skin. She wanted to kiss him again, to confess everything, but she deflected her, voice teasing. Someone's gotta keep you in line. He chuckled, but his eyes held hers heavy with unspoken words. You've worn it all this time, he said, touching the locket, peeking from her scrubs every day. She admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Their moment was shattered when a nurse delivered a tablet, a hospital email open on the screen. Naomi glanced at it, her blood running cold. An encrypted message. Vanessa, to an unknown recipient, he's waking up. Handle it. She hid the screen from Elliot. Her mind racing. Was Vanessa planning another move? She forced a smile, tucking the tablet away. Just work stuff. She lied, but her hands trembled. Elliot frowned, sensing her unease, but didn't press back. In therapy, Naomi pushed him harder, her fear channeling into focus. You're stronger than you think, she said, watching him take a shaky step. He nodded, his jaw set. Because of you. Her throat tightened, memories flooding in. Their childhood races. His shy glances, the love she'd buried. She'd worn his locket through every heartbreak, every doubt. And now it felt like a vow. You were my dream, Elle. she thought, but didn't say, her nurse's mask holding firm as they returned to his room. Naomi spotted a security guard lingering in the hall, his radio crackling with a low voice. She couldn't hear it, but his eyes followed them, too intent. Her gut screamed danger, the note and email weaving a web she couldn't yet unravel. "El," she said, helping him into bed. "We need to be careful. Something's not right." He nodded his hand, finding hers. "I trust you." Nay, always have the room's jazz played on, but the air felt charged like a storm about to break. Naomi sat beside him, her fingers laced with his. The lock had a quiet pulse between them. She didn't see the guards slip into the stairwell, or the SUV idling outside its driver. Watching, all she knew was Elliot Hayes fight her love and the truth they'd uncover, no matter the cost, the weight of Elliot's trust. "I trust you," Nay settled over Naomi. Like a vow, his hand warm in hers, as room 504's soft lights cast shadows on the truth. They were unraveling the locket against her chest, felt like a beacon guiding her through. The fog of fear stirred by the mechanic's report, and that chilling email, Vanessa's words, "Handle it," echoed in her mind, a threat she couldn't ignore. But as she looked at Elliot, his eyes steady, despite his fragile frame, she knew they were in this together, just like when they were kids, stealing fireflies from Atlanta's dusk. Naomi suggested a walk in the hospital's private garden, hoping the night air would clear their heads. Elliot nodded, leaning on her as they shuffled down the hall, his steps stronger but still unsteady. The garden was a pocket of quiet jasmine curling through the breeze, moonlight painting silver streaks across the stone path. "Feels like old times," he said, his voice soft, a faint smile tugging his lips. Naomi's heart fluttered, memories of their childhood summers, sticky popsicles, shared secrets rushing back. They paused by a fountain, its gentle trickle a counterpoint to the tension coiling in her chest. Elliot turned to her, his gaze intense. "Nay, I need to say something." Her breath caught, but she nodded, steadying him. As they sat on a stone bench, "I've loved you since we were kids," he said, his words raw, like they'd been trapped too long that first day reading comics in your backyard. "I knew, but I was scared my world, my money would push you away." Naomi's throat tightened, the locket burning against her skin. She'd buried the same fear, the same love for years. "I loved you too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Every time you looked at me, I felt it, but I thought I wasn't enough for your life." A memory flashed. 2005, a summer festival, cotton candy, sticky on their fingers. He'd almost said it. Then his eyes bright with longing, but he'd pulled back and she'd let him, too afraid to leap now. Under the moon's soft glow, their hands found each other, fingers lacing like they'd done it 1,000 times. "We're here now," she said, her smile trembling. Elliot's thumb brushed her knuckles, his touch electric. "I heard you, Nay, in the dark, your voice, your poetry, your love, it kept me alive." Her heart stuttered, the memory of her hospital kiss flooding back. He'd felt it, her desperate plea, and that it had pulled him through. She wanted to kiss him again to seal this moment, but the weight of their discovery held her back. "Lay, we need to talk about Vanessa," she said, pulling the break report from her pocket. "And this email I found, she's involved." His face darkened as she recounted the message. "He's waking up. Handle it." Elliot's jaw clenched, a memory surfacing. "I heard her before the crash. A call late. Her voice cold. He's in. The way I thought it was about a deal." Naomi's pulse quickened. "She tried to kill you. We need to know why." He nodded, his grip tightening. "We'll find out together." Their shared resolve felt like their childhood promises, unbreakable. Even now, they stood walking slowly, her arm steadying him. The garden's peace was a fragile bubble. And Naomi's eyes scanned the shadows wary she remembered, in the guard's lingering stare. The radios crackle. We can't trust anyone. She, said her voice. Low Elliot's hand brushed her locket, his fingers pausing. I trust. To you, he said, echoing his earlier words. That's enough. Her chest warmed, but fear lingered. Vanessa wasn't done, and the truth was a blade waiting to fall. A rustle broke the quiet, and Naomi tensed, spotting a black SUV idling across the street. Its windows dark. Elle, we should go. Back, she said, her voice tight. He followed her gaze, his body stiffening. You think they're watching? She didn't answer, urging him toward the hospital, her arm firm around him. The SUV didn't move, but its presence was a weight. The reminder of the danger circling them inside the hospital's hum felt too loud, the fluorescent lights too harsh. Naomi helped Elliot to his room. Her mind, racing the garden's confession, had changed everything. Their love was no longer a secret, but it came with a cost. We need a plan, she said, sitting beside him. Vanessa's not working alone. Elliot nodded, his eyes fierce. And despite his weakness, we'll dig deeper. My company, my records. There's something. The jazz played softly, a gentle undercurrent to their resolve. Naomi's fingers traced the locket, grounding her. Together, they faced the world again. But the stakes were higher. She didn't notice the black SUV pulling away, nor the guard in the hall. All that mattered was Elliot, his love, their vow, and the fight ahead. As real as the heartbeat she had once kissed into life, moonlight memories clung to Naomi like a second skin. I've loved you since we were kids. Elliot's voice, a melody she couldn't shake. Their shared history had forged a bond stronger than any childhood promise. In room 504, Naomi's resolve burned brighter than fear, the locket pressed to her chest, pulsing with their shared life. But the lingering SUV and a cryptic message, It reminded her they were no longer just fighting for Elliot's life. They were hunting the truth. Naomi had contacted Marcus, a private investigator, who promised, meet me at Elliot's estate. I'll dig into Vanessa's finances. Days later, they were in Elliot's Atlanta mansion study. Elliot, stronger but still leaning on a cane, pored over Marcus's findings. Bank records, encrypted emails, a trail of deceit. Naomi adjusted his chair, her nurse's instinct, mingling with her love. You, okay. Elle, he nodded, jaw tight. She's been bleeding my company dry. This ends now. Marcus spread papers across the desk. Vanessa funneled millions offshore. He said, tapping a transaction. She hired a hitman to cut your brakes. Wanted you gone to take Hayes Innovations. Naomi's stomach lurched. Elliot's eyes darkened. Memory surfacing. 1999. Their treehouse, carving initials with a pocket knife. We'll always be there. He'd promised. Green white. That vow now fueled his fire. We're setting a trap, he said. She'll confess. Naomi nodded, brushing her hand over his. They planned a fake board meeting. Vanessa, unaware, would attend under the guise of Elliot's recovery deal. Hidden cameras would capture her confession. Marcus would coordinate with the police. Naomi would pose as Elliot's assistant, baiting Vanessa's ego. You sure about this? Nay, Elliot asked, gaze searching. She smiled fiercely. We faced worse. Like that time, you tried to outrun my mama's dog. He chuckled, hand lingering on hers, grounding them both. The night of the sting, chandeliers cast shadows across the study. Naomi adjusted her blazer, locket hidden beneath hair blouse. Elliot sat at the desk, chain propped, face calm. Vanessa arrived, heels clicking, smile sharp. Elliot, you look alive. She purred. Naomi stepped forward. Miss Klein, we're discussing a merger. Mr. Hayes values your input. Vanessa's eyes narrowed, but she sat, sipping wine. Elliot leaned forward, voice low. Why'd you do it? The breaks. The hitman. Was it worth it? Her laugh was cold. You think I'd risk everything for you? Naomi's voice cut through. Steady. You wanted the company. His death was your ticket. Vanessa's fingers tightened on the glass. Elliot's gaze didn't waver. I heard you. You hired him to kill me. The room crackled. Vanessa's composure faltered. You were weak, holding us back. I deserve that company. Naomi's breath caught. That was the confession. Marcus's tiny red light flashed. Doors burst open. 2 officers stormed in, badges gleaming. Vanessa Klein, you under arrest for attempted murder. Her face drained. Wine glass clattered. She lunged at Elliot. Naomi stepped between them. You did this to yourself. The officers cuffed her. Her screams echoed, then faded. Silence fell, heavy and victorious. Elliot rose, cane steady, pulling Naomi close. We kept our promise, he whispered. Tears stung her eyes. Always. The estate felt lighter. Shadows lifting with Vanessa's defeat. The locket hummed with their unbreakable bond. Months passed. Elliot regained his strength. At the ribbon cutting for a new community clinic, a dream Naomi had poured her soul into, they stood before locals, nurses, and loved ones. Naomi spoke of healing and hope. This is for us, she said. Elliot watched, pride brighter than the summer sun. Later, in the clinic courtyard, magnolia-scented air, thick with possibility, Elliot took her hand. You were incredible. Nay, he said. She laughed. You're biased. No, I'm honest. You're changing lives, he said. He led her to a rooftop above the clinic. Remember our stargazing? He asked. Thumb brushed her knuckles. She nodded, heart racing. You promised me the moon. His smile turned serious. Nay, I've loved you since our first laugh, our first fight. Every moment I was lost, it was you I held on to. Her breath caught. The locket pulsed against her chest. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I heard you. That hospital kiss, it saved me. You saved me. He knelt. Naomi Carter, you're my home. My everything. Marry me. Tears spilled. Yes. She choked out. He slid the ring onto her finger, rising to pull her close. Their lips met, tasting of promises, kept deeper than any vow before. The city hummed below, oblivious. Months later, their wedding unfolded in a garden draped in white roses. Her family's warmth, his colleagues' cheer, the clinic community celebrating. Naomi walked down the aisle, ivory gown shimmering, locket tucked close. Elliot's eyes locked on hers. The boy who had carved their initials long ago. Their vows were simple. True. I choose you. Always. The crowd roared. Naomi heard only his heartbeat, steady as her own. They danced under the stars, her head on his chest. No more pain, she murmured. No more shadows. He replied. Their love, forged in childhood and tested by betrayal, proved that true devotion conquers all. From a hospital kiss to a rooftop vow, Naomi and Elliot's journey showed the power of love to heal what wealth cannot. They stepped into forever, unbreakable. The courtroom of shadows had passed. Now, Naomi and Elliot faced the calm after the storm. Months of plotting, fear, and betrayal had led them here. Standing in the grand study of Elliot's Atlanta estate, mahogany walls and sprawling shelves of books bore witness to the justice they were about to claim. Elliot, leaning slightly on his cane, reviewed Marcus's findings, bank transfers, encrypted emails, even the shocking proof of a hitman hired to sabotage his car. Naomi adjusted his chair, her fingers brushing his in a gesture of both comfort and resolve. You, okay? Elle, she asked softly. He nodded, jaw tight. She's been draining my company. This ends tonight. Marcus spread the evidence across the desk. Vanessa funneled millions offshore, he said, tapping a transaction. She even hired a hitman. She wanted Yugon to claim Hayes' innovations for herself. Naomi's stomach churned, recalling the mechanic's report and the near-fatal sabotage. Elliot's eyes darkened, memories surfacing. 1999, their treehouse, carving initials with a pocket knife, will always be there. He had promised. That vow now fueled their courage. Together, they devised a plan, a staged board meeting to lure Vanessa, hidden cameras to capture her confession, police ready to intervene. Naomi's role, appear as Elliot's loyal assistant, baiting Vanessa's ego without revealing their trap. You sure about this? Nay, Elliot asked, searching her eyes. She smiled, fierce and unwavering. We faced worse. Remember the time you thought you could outrun my mama's dog? That night, the estate glowed under chandeliers, casting long shadows across the study. Naomi adjusted her blazer, Locke hidden beneath her blouse, heartbeat sinking with the tension in the room. Elliot sat at the desk, Kane at his side, calm and commanding. Vanessa arrived, heels clicking, a smile as sharp as glass. Elliot, you look alive, she purred. Naomi's pulse quickened, but she stepped forward. Miss Clean, we're discussing the merger. Mr. Hayes values your input. Elliot leaned forward, voice low but steady. Why'd you do it? Vanessa, the brakes, the hitman. Was it worth it? Vanessa's laugh was cold. You really think I'd risk everything for you? Naomi pressed on, voice unwavering. You wanted the company. His death was your ticket. Vanessa's fingers tightened on her wine glass. Elliot's gaze did not falter. I heard you. You hired him to kill me? The confession hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Vanessa's composure faltered. You were weak, holding us back. I deserved that company. Marcus's tiny red signal flashed. Doors burst open. Two officers entered, badges glinting. Vanessa Kleene, you're under arrest for attempted murder. Her face drained of color. The wine glass clattered. She lunged at Elliot, but Naomi stepped between them. Stands firm. You did this to yourself. The officers cuffed her as she screamed, her fury echoing and fading down the halls. Silence settled over the estate, thick yet victorious. Elliot rose, Kane steady, pulling Naomi close. We kept our promise, he whispered. Tears stung her eyes. Always. LMS. The estate seemed lighter. Shadows lifted, and the locket against Naomi's chest pulsed with the strength of their bond. Months passed. Elliot regained his full strength, each step a testament to their unbreakable connection. At the ribbon cutting of the community clinic, a dream Naomi had nurtured, they stood before locals, nurses, and family. Naomi spoke of healing and hope. This is for us, she said, voice steady, eyes shining. Elliot watched, pride brighter than the summer sun. Their love was reflected in every smiling face, every nod of approval. Later, in the quiet courtyard, magnolia-scented air surrounding them, Elliot took her hand. You were incredible. Nay, he said softly. She laughed, brushing a curl from her face. You're biased. No, I'm honest, he replied, gaze intense. You're changing lives. He led her to the rooftop above the clinic, the city sprawling below. Remember our stargazing? he asked, thumb brushing her knuckles. She nodded, heart racing. You promised me the moon. His smile turned serious. Nay, I've loved you since our first laugh, our first fight. Every moment I was lost, it was you I held on to. Her breath caught. The locket pulsed against her chest. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I heard you. That hospital kiss. It saved me. You saved me. He knelt. Naomi Carter, you're my home, my everything. Marry me. Tears spilled freely. Yes, Elle. She choked out. He slid the ring onto her finger, rising to pull her close. Their lips met, tasting of promises kept, deeper than any vow before. The city hummed below, oblivious. Months later, their wedding unfolded in a garden draped with white roses. Naomi's family, Elliot's colleagues, and the community they had healed surrounded them. Naomi walked down the aisle, ivory gown, shimmering, locket tucked close. Elliot's eyes locked on hers. The boy who had carved their initials years ago. Their vows were simple, true. I choose you, always. The crowd cheered. Naomi heard only his heartbeat, steady as her own. They danced under the stars, her head on his chest. No more pain, she murmured. No more shadows. He replied, their love, forged in childhood and tested by betrayal, proved that true devotion conquers all. From a hospital kiss to a rooftop vow, Naomi and Elliot's journey showed that love heals what wealth and power cannot. Together, they step into forever. Unbreakable, their hearts. A shared sanctuary, their locket. A testament to promises kept